Hi guys, it's Lindsay from She Is Booked and Busy. Doing my first video, and I have to be honest with you guys. I wanted to do this for a really long time, but it's intimidating, it's nerve-wracking, and it takes a lot of courage and confidence to put yourself in front of a camera and talk to it and just hope that everyone who watches is interested in what you say. It's scary. I've had a job previously where I did do a lot of in front of the camera work, so it's not something that I'm not comfortable with, but it's scary. And I was recently watching one of my favorite creators on YouTube. I'm going to link her below, Miss Kira, and she prefaced her video the other day with this really inspiring little pep talk about, if this is something that you have been thinking of doing, just do it. Just do it, because she goes, you're sitting watching a video and somebody else is going to want, you want to hear what I have to say, and somebody else is going to want to hear what you have to say. So I've decided that this is something that I would love to do, even if it just, one person watches it and enjoys it. It's something that I love. It's something that I'm passionate about. I've been an avid reader since I was a little girl. And it's something that I really just want to share with the world. I love talking about books. I have to be completely honest with you. I have a couple of friends who are pretty avid readers, but not a massive community of people in my life that, read as much as I do and love talking about books as much as I do. So I love the idea of kind of finding a little community with similar interests around me. So you are actually here in what is in the process of becoming my office/book room. We're in the middle of a renovation. I don't know if you can see it, but we just finished painting. We are having the last deliveries of our furniture coming in the next 2 weeks. And this space is going to look totally different from what it looks like now. And I thought to myself, well, why don't you just, kind of do this when the project is finished and everything is better. But you know what? Sometimes when you know. And I just really felt like I had a little bit of quiet time here at home. The kids are at school. My husband's at work. I said, you know what? I have a little bit of quiet time. I think I'm going to just jump right in, because why not? So I wanted to do something kind of simple and easy for the first video. So we are going to do a good old-fashioned book haul. And this is a big one because this is books that I've bought over the last couple of weeks. So without further ado, let's get into some of the books that I've picked up in the last probably about 2.5 weeks. I want to preface this by saying it doesn't matter how many books you read every single month. I average between 5 and 10, depending on my month. And this is my hobby, acquiring and purchasing books. So let's go ahead and get into it. So the first book that we'll talk about is this one. I'm really excited. This is a new release thriller mystery. This is How I'll Kill You by Ren DeStefano. I don't know a ton about this book, but I've seen a bunch of people that I watch talking about how fantastic it was. And that's all it takes to sell me on a book, right? If you read it and tell me you loved it and the general synopsis sounds like something I'm interested in, I'm sold. I'm not a hard sell when it comes to books. So here's what I want to do. I want to give a little brief summary, but I don't love the idea of reading the full cover and jacket because I don't feel like that's a great representation. But you want to know what I always do when I'm in the bookstore is I pick up the book, I look at the cover, I kind of browse the jacket, and then I read the first sentence of the book. I don't know why, but I just feel like I can more or less tell if I'm going to connect with the author's writing in the first sentence, the first couple sentences. So let's go ahead and do that. So this is How I'll Kill You by Ren DeStefano. It says, make him want you, make him love you, make him dead. What? Your next stay-up-all-night thriller about identical triplets who have a nasty habit of killing their boyfriends, and what happens when the youngest commits their worst crime yet, falling in love with her mark. So it sounds like this is going to be maybe an assassin story where she falls in love and becomes romantically involved with her mark? I don't know. All right, let's read the first sentence. About that one, my sister whispers into the phone as though anyone but me can hear her. She's excited, and I feel my own heart starting to race at the prospect of what's about to come. I've only helped identify the mark before. I've never picked one for myself. So that's the first a couple of sentences in this book. I'm really excited. I've never read anything by this author, but I've heard really great things. So we'll see. Okay, coming up next, I got The Only Survivors by Megan Miranda. I was so actually I was on the fence about this book. I've heard great things about her writing, but I've actually never read anything by her either. And one thing that I will say is that her books are pretty pricey. So I was a little bit iffy about picking this up or not, but I think at the end of the day, it came down to the cover. I think it's just beautiful. I mean, I don't know if you could see that, but I think the cover is just beautiful and it sounds good and it's relatively short. This is, around 330 pages, so it's not a chunky book. I'm intrigued to see if I get into her writing. So let's go ahead and read the synopsis. 7 hours in the past, 7 days in the present, 7 survivors remaining. Who would you save? A decade ago, 2 vans filled with high school seniors on a school service trip crashed into a Tennessee ravine, a tragedy that claimed the lives of multiple classmates and teachers. The 9 students who managed to escape the river that night were irrevocably changed. A year later, after one of the survivors dies by suicide on the anniversary of the crash, the rest of them make a pact to come together each year to commemorate the terrible night. So I think they get together at this meeting place, this house in the Outer Banks, and things go awry from there. So let's go ahead and read the first couple of sentences. Oh, it's a prologue. There were things I had done to avoid this reunion. I'd made a list, made a plan, justified it by reminding myself that these were not really my friends, and 10 years was long enough. This yearly trip wasn't helping anymore. This promise. We had been too young when we'd agreed to come together for the anniversary as a way to keep one another safe. It had been a misguided impulse, an overreaction, a panicked grasp for control when we all surely knew better by then. I hope that, I don't know if anybody else does this, but I always read the first couple of sentences and I feel like I know whether I'm going to connect with the writing. And I just love that. I read the couple of sentences sitting in Barnes and Noble and I was like, I just like that writing. Just in the first sentence, I get a vibe. Every once in a while I pick up a book and I read the first couple of sentences and it's just I don't know if this is for me, but I liked the first couple. I like the synopsis. So we're going to give it a try. All right. Moving on. Let's go for this one. Okay. And moving on into kind of the fantasy area, this is To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo. I actually was recommended this by my friend who recently read it and she said she really liked it. I believe this is a series. I'm going to have to look it up. I think there's more than one book in this series already. Maybe not. Maybe this isn't. It's going to be a series, but I'm excited. I am a fantasy girly. I like it. I do a thing where I have to kind of switch between genres. Fantasy for me takes a lot of brain power. You have to think a lot when you're reading it. You really have to connect with the characters. So I don't typically go back-to-back fantasy. I'm kind of a switcher. I'll go fantasy, romance, thriller, back to fantasy. So I will get to this one, but I think the cover is really beautiful. And it says, I have a heart for every year I've been alive. Princess Lyra is siren royalty and the most lethal of them all. With the hearts of 17 princes in her collection, she is revered across the sea, until a twist of fate forces her to kill one of her own. To punish her daughter, the Sea Queen transforms Lyra into the one thing sirens loathe most, a human. So we'll see. Let's read the first sentence. I have a heart for every year I've been alive. There are 17 hidden in the sand of my bedroom. Every so often I claw through the shingle just to check they're still there, buried deep and bloody. So it sounds like she lives underwater, maybe? Her heart's buried in the sand or somewhere near the water? Interesting. Okay. We'll see. All right. So actually, you know what we're going to do next? We're going to go into this book. This is Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. I have the cutest story about this book. So, I was in Barnes & Noble and I was browsing, just randomly browsing the shelves, looking around. I have to touch all the books. I have to see all the books. And this adorable older woman walks up to me and she taps me on the shoulder and she's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bother you. You just looked so intense, like looking at your books, you looked so into it. I said, yeah, this is my happy place. This is what I do. I come when I'm really stressed and I just want to look at books. And she goes, are you open to a book recommendation? And I just found that so cute to walk up to someone and just, I don't know, she just identified in me that we both had a love for books and she wanted to recommend. And I said, of course I am. I'm always open for a recommendation. And she kind of took me by the hand and she led me over to this shelf and she pointed to this book, Remarkably Bright Creatures. And I swear to you, she was almost in tears. She was like, this book was life-changing for me. She goes, I picked it up, I finished it in one sitting, and I just loved it. And she's like, I really hope you love it too if you end up getting it. And I was, of course, how am I walking out of the store without getting it? Of course I'm getting it. So I picked this up. I believe this is about a woman who's going through a divorce. And I don't know if she works in an aquarium or she volunteers at an aquarium. But she ends up meeting this octopus at this aquarium that she works at or volunteers at. And I think she just finds the creature to have so much empathy and really help her understand the situation she's going in. I'm not entirely sure how. I bought this purely on recommendation from that sweet older woman who was in Barnes & Noble who was just so emotionally connected to this book. I found that so touching. So yeah, Remarkably Bright Creatures. Let's go ahead and read the first sentence. It's actually a beautiful print. I don't know if you can see that, but it's beautifully printed. So, day 1299 of my captivity. Darkness suits me. Each evening I await the click of the overhead lights, leaving only the glow from the main tank. Not perfect, but close enough. Almost darkness, like the middle bottom of the sea. I lived there before I was captured and imprisoned. I cannot remember, yet I can still taste the untamed currents of the cold open water. Darkness runs through my blood. So is this told? Is there going to be a dual POV of our main character and then the octopus? So we might get a POV from the octopus? I don't know. It's cute though, right? It's a beautiful book and I just love the recommendation. Like, I just feel like even if I don't 100% connect with the book, even if it's not my favorite book of the year, I feel like every single time I look at the shelf and I see this book, I'm going to have that memory of this woman grabbing me in Barnes & Noble and recommending this book that meant a lot to her. I just like, I don't know. I just feel like it's always going to have a great memory. So there's that. The next book, let's go for this one. Okay, so the next book I picked up was Anna Maria and the Fox. I actually saw this. This was one of the book of the months this month, and I chose not to get it through book of the month, but I saw it sitting on the shelves in Barnes & Noble in a paperback, and I just felt like I was going to pick it up. It says, a forbidden love between a Mexican heiress and a shrewd British politician makes for a tantalizing Victorian season. Anna Maria Luna Valdez has strived to be the perfect daughter, the perfect niece, and the perfect representative of the powerful Luna family. So when she is secretly sent to London with her sisters to seek refuge from the French occupation of Mexico... Oh, so it's going to be... Okay, so I think it's in the past. Anna Maria experiences her first taste of freedom far from the judgmental eyes of her domineering father. Okay, so I'm gathering that this is based in the past, a little bit of historical fiction. So, yep. London, July of 1863. Wow, 1863. The wind was relentless. It ripped at her once neat coiffure. I believe it's coiffure. Correct me in the comments. Coiffure. Coiffure? Whipping strands of black hair against her face, the sting bringing tears to her eyes. It was the most frigid of welcomes. Wow. Okay, so right off the bat, I'm a little hesitant about this. I'm not usually a historical fiction girly. Typically, historical fiction isn't my thing, but I think there's a romance element to this, and I've heard really good things about it, so let's see if I connect with that. Okay. Let's just get into it. Okay. Let's get into it. So I have a really bad habit. My toxic trait is buying an entire series before I've read the first book. It makes no sense, but it's what I do. So I know I'm not alone in having never read the first book, but just thinking I'm going to be obsessed with something and then buying the entire series. So I bought the first 4 books in the Ice Planet Barbarians series. So we have book 1, Ice Planet Barbarians, book 2, Barbarian Alien, book 3, Barbarian Lover, and book 4, Barbarian's Prize. Now, I believe there's about 21 books currently in this series, so it's a long one. And I believe the gist of this series is a plane of humans crashes on a foreign planet, I believe, and the foreign planet is inhabited by aliens, and then each of the humans from the plane ends up falling in love with aliens. It's basically Alien Smut. But it has a super viral following on BookTok. So I'm not going to read the first 4 sentences of each, but go look it up. Alien Smut. Who doesn't want that? Okay. The next books I'm going to talk about are... Oh, wait a minute. I also got Barbarian Mind. Do I have 2 of these? Oh my God. I have the first 5 in the series, not 4. It's a problem. I need to stop. Okay, so I have the first 5 in the Ice Planet Barbarian series. Okay. The next book I bought was Never Never by Colleen Hoover. This is Colleen Hoover's new book. I don't know if you can see it. You probably can't from where you are, but I do have a little bit of a Colleen Hoover collection. I honestly haven't read a ton of her work. I've read Ugly Love. I've read Verity. And I believe that's it. But I have several of her books on my shelf. I do like her writing. It's good for what it is. I mean, you're not going to get anything life-changing. It's a really good romance. Verity is, in my opinion, a decent mystery. It's nothing life-changing, but you want to know what I love her for? She's a good, what I like, nothing bad. This isn't in the negative connotation, but Colleen Hoover is a good filler book. So when I've read a really intense fantasy that's taken a lot of IQ, a lot of brain power, and I feel like I'm almost on like a book hangover, like I just need something in between a couple of more serious books to kind of cleanse my palate. It's a palate cleanser. I reach for a Colleen Hoover. And she actually wrote this in collaboration with Taryn Fisher, who's also a New York Times best-selling author. So that's kind of exciting, and I think the cover is absolutely beautiful. So it says, "Never stop, never forget, just remember. Charlize Winwood and Silas Nash have been best friends since they could walk. They've been in love since the age of 14, but as of this morning, they are complete strangers. Their first kiss, their first fight, the moment they fell in love, every memory has vanished. Now Charlie and Silas must work together to uncover the truth about what happened to them and why." I really felt like that sounded good, so maybe it's going to be like a little romance, a little bit of mystery thrown in there. It is dual POV, so I know the first POV you're getting is Charlie's. Seems good. There you go. Okay. The next book I bought is Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. I have once again, a couple of Kennedy Ryan books on my bookshelf, but I do not believe I've ever read anything. I'm trying to see. I don't believe I've actually read anything by her, but I have a couple of her books on my shelf. And the cover of this is stunning. The book just really intrigued me. It says, "A scorching novel about hope and healing. Their love was supposed to last forever, but when life delivered blow after devastating blow, Yasmin and Josiah Wade found that love alone couldn't solve or save everything. It couldn't save their marriage." So from what I'm understanding about this is that it's going to be a second chance romance. I think it deals with marriage and divorce and then potentially falling back in love throughout their divorce. So should be good. Okay, so the next books I got are another series. This is Rhapsodic, which is the first book in the series, and A Strange Hymn, which is the second book in this Bargainer series by Laura Thalassa. First of all, the covers are stunning. Second of all, this is another vampire fantasy series, I believe. It's a romantasy vampire series. And I am going to, when I'm doing my hauls or my summaries or my reading vlogs, I'm not going to give you a summary of the second one. I actually don't read the backs of second books in series that I'm interested in because sometimes just the book jacket gives spoilers if you haven't read the second one, or the first one, excuse me. So the second one is A Strange Hymn, and I'm just going to put it down because that probably has spoilers in it. So the first book in the Bargainer series is called Rhapsodic. And it says, Calypso Lilith is a siren with a very big problem, one that stretches up her arm and far into her past. For the past 7 years, Callie has been wearing a bracelet of black beads up her wrist, magical IOUs for favors she once received. Only death or repayment will fulfill her obligations. So she has black beads. She can only get out with death or refillment of her debts. I've heard it's really good. Vampire romance. So there you go. Okay. So the next book I got was Tress of the Emerald Seas by Brandon Sanderson. Now this right here is probably one of my favorite book covers that I got to date. I don't know if you can see how stunningly beautiful that is. It's gorgeous. It has embossed, I believe it's like almost like a rose gold, copper rose gold letters, and it's beautiful. I pre-ordered this, so I did get it when it released. And Brandon Sanderson is an author that's really, really intrigued me. He does the Mistborn series, which I have on my Kindle, and he's known for really long fantasy novels. So when I saw this, and I saw it's only about 340 pages, I was really intrigued by it. And I'm going to read the Mistborn series as well, but from what I understand, that is a huge time commitment. So let's see what this is about. The only life Tress has known on her island home in an emerald green ocean has been a simple one, with the simple pleasures of collecting cups brought by sailors from faraway lands and listening to stories told by her friend Charlie. But when his father takes him on a voyage to find a bride and disaster strikes, Tress must stow away on a ship and seek the sorceress of the deadly Midnight Sea. Amid the spore oceans where pirates abound, can Tress leave her simple life behind and make her own place, sailing a sea where a single drop of water can mean instant death. So it's going to be another sea story, potentially mermaid, pirate related? I don't know, but I'm excited. And I just want to show you. Look at the inside cover of this book. I think this is the Barnes & Noble special edition. I don't know if you could see it, but it's absolutely beautiful. It has really pretty details on the inside cover. I wonder if there's anything on the... No. So it has really beautiful end pages, so I really love the special edition of this book. Okay, next. I'll go for these. Oh geez. It's going to be amazing if I don't end up dropping these everywhere. Okay. All right, so for the next ones, I got a pair of Abby Jimenez books. So I have, once again, a couple of Abby Jimenez on my shelf. I have the Happy Ever playlist, Part of Your World by her. I've heard really great things about her writing. I'm very excited to get into them. And I actually started off by getting this. This is her new release called Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. And I don't think I realized that this was a second book. I don't think it's a series. I think they're just interconnected. I don't think you have to read this or read Part of Your World to understand this, but I think they are kind of interconnected. They might have some interconnected characters in the series. So this is her newest release. And while I was there, I saw this one on the save table, Life's Too Short. So I grabbed that as well. Let's see what they say. Life's Too Short. It says, when Vanessa Price quit her job to pursue her dream of traveling the globe, she wasn't expecting to gain millions of YouTube followers who shared her joy of seizing every moment. Oh, so she's a YouTuber. That could either go really well or really poorly for me. Sometimes it's a little cringy watching authors try to write influencers. So I'm intrigued. I have to be honest with you too, I'm not a massive lover all the time of current culture in books while I'm reading them. For some reason, I don't know why, but I read books to escape kind of current culture. So when authors bring it up in books, sometimes it takes me out of the story a little bit. So we'll see. But it says, for her, living each day to its fullest isn't just a motto. Her mother and sister never saw the age of 30, and Vanessa doesn't want to take anything for granted. But after her half-sister suddenly leaves Vanessa in custody of her baby daughter, life goes from daily adventure to next level bad. Oh. So she's going to end up with her niece. Custody of her niece, it sounds like? That sounds good. And then this is her newest release, Yours Truly. This just released last week. And from what I understand, this is kind of in conjunction, like I said, to her previous book called Part of Your World. But I am going to give you a synopsis because I don't believe you have to read them together. So it says, Dr. Brianna Ortiz's life is seriously flatlining. Her divorce is just about finalized. Her brother's running out of time to find a kidney donor. And that promotion she wants, oh, that's probably going to the new man doctor, who already is registering 80 friggin' 7 on Brianna's pain in the ass scale. But just when all systems are set up to hate Dr. Jacob Maddox completely flips the game by sending Brianna a letter. So this is going to be a workplace romance, maybe a little bit of not enemies to lovers, but like dislike to lovers, workplace competition. So I'm into it. All right, we got to speed this up. Let's see. Okay, let's go over this next. This next book that I got is Romantic Comedy by Curtis Sittenfeld. And this is so funny because when I found this book, I looked at the bottom. I was already planning on buying this because this was yet another book of the month book that I was really intrigued by. I have been debating joining book of the month, but the problem is they pick such great new releases that most of the time it's a new release that I want the Barnes & Noble special edition of. So I have trouble getting it, but I was going to buy this anyways, and when I got there, I looked at the bottom and it says, the New York Times best-selling author of Prep and eligible. And I all of a sudden had this flash. So I went to an all-girls boarding school for high school, and I so distinctly remember that when I was in high school, there was this book making the rounds called Prep. I literally can envision it. It was, I believe it was a white cover, and it had one of the old-fashioned ribbon belts that were so trendy across it. It had a ribbon belt, maybe like a Lily Pulitzer type of ribbon belt on the cover, and it was called Prep, and it was so popular. Everyone was reading it, and I read it, and I really liked it back in high school. And when I picked this book up, this is the author of Prep. So for some reason, that made me really excited, because I mean, we're going back. I'm not even going to date myself, but we're going back a long time. And I really liked his book back then. So this is his new book. It's called Romantic Comedy. And from what I understand, I believe the main character of this book is a writer on a comedy sketch show, kind of Saturday Night Live-ish. She's a writer for that show. And I believe, I could be totally wrong, but I believe the romantic interest ends up being like a guest host on the show or something like that. But I've heard it's cute. I've heard it has witty banter, cute little rom-com, hence romantic comedy. So I'm excited to read that one. Okay. Next, I got Community Board by Tara Conklin. This is another new release that I picked up from Barnes & Noble. I saw it and the cover kind of sold me at first. Once again, it's my love Barnes & Noble special editions. I hate stickers on covers except for a Barnes & Noble special exclusive edition sticker. I like it because I like to mark that it was the exclusive one that I got. So this is, I believe, slightly dystopian. I think it's like an end of the world kind of story where they've created this new, like post-apocalyptic community at the end of the world. And they have a community board that they post what people need on, like community board message that somebody needs 3 eggs and somebody needs this and somebody needs that. And I believe 2 people start communicating from this post-apocalyptic dystopian end of the world community board. So it's cute. I mean, if you can see, I want to get a little bit closer. On the back, it shows that there's messages from this community board. It says free 500 cans of corn, accidentally ordered them online. Oh, so there's online. Apparently I know nothing about this book. I thought it was like end of the world, apocalyptic, dystopian. Accidentally ordered them online. I really hate corn. Happy to help load. Reminder, use your own goddamn garbage can for your goddamn pet waste. I'm looking for you, Peter Loughlin. So it just sounds kind of cute and funny. It says a pitch perfect comedy of manners. It's based in Massachusetts. I am from the Northeast. So a little Northeast setting for ya. Okay. The next book I got was Heartless by Marissa Myers. I actually got this because two of my three favorite YouTubers, Miss Sarah Crowley and Miss Destiny Sidwell, recently posted a video of them getting together in Sarah Crowley's hometown of Jersey, which another Northeast girl. So they recently got together. Destiny came to visit Sarah in Jersey, and I was watching in one of the videos they did, they picked books for each other, and I believe this was one book that Sarah picked for Destiny, and Destiny read it, and from what I'm understanding, this is I believe it's a Snow White retelling, or Alice in Wonderland. This is an Alice in Wonderland adjacent retelling. So it says, Catherine may be one of the most desired girls in Wonderland and a favorite of the unmarried king, but her interests lie elsewhere. A talented baker, she wants to open a shop and create delectable pastries. But for her mother, such a goal is unthinkable for a woman that could be queen. So I guess she wants to open a bakery, but her mother wants her to marry the king instead. So I'm excited to get into Marissa Meyer's writing. I do own Gilded and Cursed by her, which I'm also really excited to read. So excited to get into her writing. Okay, let's do this next. Okay. So these next two books I got were actually recommendations from Rachel Catherine here on YouTube. I really love what I put on her videos when I just need some calm, casual book time. Her voice is very soothing and I love her recommendations. And she said that this series, which I believe is called the Scalomance series by Naomi Novik, was really, really great. So I picked up books 1 and books 2, which are A Deadly Education and The Last Graduate in the trilogy. I did not grab the third one because my Barnes & Noble only had it in hardcover. It's a more new release, and this particular book I feel like I would want in softcover and for them paperback and for them to match. So I'm not going to read the second because it could give spoilers. But I believe this is a magical dark academia where the school is somehow colluding to kill the students. It says, I decided that Orion Lake needed to die after the second time he saved my life. Most of the other students in here would be delighted. So I think it is a slight romance, but I believe this is a book about a magical school that is actively trying to kill the students within its buildings, within its walls. So I'm excited to read this. I've heard Naomi Novik's writing is a bit slow to start, but then gets really good once you've gotten the backstory. So I'll dedicate some time to that.
I'm here now. Subscribe, I guess, to Mr. MC and Icebreaker, that is! Link in the description!
Thank you, my lovely assistant.
Okay.
Thank you.
Out. Subscribe to Mr. MC and Icebreaker!
No.
Yes, do it!
Okay, so after that brief intermission to pick up my lovely, wonderful one of my children at school and grab Life's Essential coffee. Can I help you? Can I please get my stuff done now? I'm glad you think you're so funny. The funniest person he knows. Do you want to talk about books with me?
Alright.
Dylan, what's your favorite book?
This is dumb! This is good!
What's your...
Go my channel, PFP there.
Okay.
Alright, I'm done.
That's Mr. MC of Mr. MC and Icebreaker, everyone, in all of his glory. I swear he wasn't dropped on his head as a baby.
Wait, one more time,
Okay. Alright, goodbye. Let me do this. I was thinking this video had a serious lack of a lightsaber. Thank you for that creative contribution. Anyways.
Explosion.
So no explosions. So the next two books I picked up are from Sarah Penner. She actually, I had heard about this book, The Lost Apothecary, when it first released. She does a bit of historical fiction as well. And this is her brand new book. This is the Barnes & Noble. Oh, I didn't take the sticker off. Ignore that. This is the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition of her new book called The London Seance Society. I believe this book is about, it's 18th century London, I believe. And it's about a woman who wants to kill her husband, I think. It says a woman whisper of a hidden apothecary shop and its mysterious owner, Nella, who sells well-disguised poisons to use against the oppressive men in their lives. So I did hear that this kind of has like a pretty overarching theme of like very strong feminism in it. This one, I believe, the London Seance Society, is in 1873 at an abandoned chateau on the outskirts of Paris. A dark seance is about to take place, led by acclaimed spiritualist Vaudeline Dallaire. Sure. Known worldwide for her talent in conjuring the spirits of murder victims to ascertain the identities of the people who killed them. So, kind of two almost like gothic historical fictions. This actually, the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition I bought because I think it truly is gorgeous. If you look on the inside of the dust jacket, that's what it looks like. And it is stunningly beautiful if you look at it. So I did that print because I really actually love it. Okay, moving on. I also got Emily Henry's Happy Place. This just released, I believe, yesterday. I had pre-ordered it, so I picked it up on the day that it released, and it's her newest book. I do have all of her books. I've read 1 out of the 3. I read Book Lovers and loved it. So I wanted to pick this up because I really do truly love her writing. I've heard this one is probably her best work to date. I have no idea what it's about. I love the cover. I am a little iffy about it being hardcover and the rest of mine are paperback, but I think the cover is just so beautiful I could probably make an accommodation for it. So it says, think of your happy place. Harriet and Wynne have been the perfect couple since they met in college. They go together like salt and pepper, honey and tea, lobster and rolls, except now, for reasons they're still not discussing, they don't. They broke up 5 months ago and still haven't told their best friends. That's right, I did hear something about this. They broke up months prior, didn't tell their friends, but I think they take like a yearly trip with a bunch of their couple friends to this, I think it's like a lake house or a beach house. And because they're not ready to tell their friends that they're not currently together, they still go. And I think they end up having like a second chance romance, I'm assuming, from there. So I'm very excited. This might be one of my next reads because I'm really excited to dig into it. And I've heard it's awesome. Okay. So we're going to zip through this really quickly because this I also picked up. This is Bloody Heart by Sophie Lark. This is the 4th book in the Brutal Birthright series. The first one is Brutal Prince. The second one is Stolen Heir. The third one is Savage Lover. And then this one is Bloody Heart. I'm not going to get into the actual storyline. I don't really think there's many spoilers. They're all kind of like adjacent to each other. I don't think you have to read them in any particular order. But they're mafia romances. So, yeah, mafia romance. Okay. The next one I'm going to get into, I'm really excited about. I got 3 out of the 4 books in Lauren Asher's Dirty Air series. So Lauren Asher is the same author who did the Dreamland Billionaires series, which I have all 3 of. And this is her Dirty Air series, which centers on F1 racing. So I'm really excited to read these. Obviously, I haven't picked any of them up yet, but book 1 is called Throttled. Book 2 is called Collided. Book 3 is called Wrecked. And I believe book 4 is called Redeemed. My Barnes & Noble didn't have Redeemed, so I'm going to have to go ahead and order them online. But I believe they're enemies to lovers F1 series racing. I don't know about the second and the third, but I know the first one is, I believe her brother is an F1 racer, and I believe she ends up having a romance or something like that, like an enemies to lovers with his biggest competitor in the racing world. So I'm excited to read those. Okay, so the next one I got is the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition of One for My Enemy by Olivia Blake. This just released, I believe, last week as well. I have not read anything by Olivia Blake, but I do own the Atlas 6, the Atlas Paradox, and I did just pre-order the Atlas Complex. Right now, currently, while I'm filming this, it's the last day of the Barnes & Noble pre-order sale where you get 25% additional percent off of any pre-orders of books. So I did just pre-order the 3rd book in the Atlas series by this author. And this is her newest standalone book. I'm excited for it. I believe this is about a group of sisters and a group of brothers, each from enemy families. I'm assuming there's going to be a romance there, but it says, in a modern day Manhattan where we lay our scene, 2 rival rich families fight to maintain control of their respective criminal empires. Is it just me, or does that have like a Romeo and Juliet, like a Montesquieu Capulet vibe to it? In a modern day Manhattan where we lay our scene. That's like very Shakespeare. So yeah, so I guess one criminal empire has, I believe it's 4 daughters? 1, 2... I don't know, a lot of daughters. They have a couple daughters, and then the other crime family has a couple of sons, and I'm assuming there's going to be some sort of romance there. So, got that one. Okay. The next book that I got is Grady Hendrix's How to Sell a Haunted House. So, full disclosure, I've never read anything by Grady Hendrix, and this is probably the book in the stack that I'm probably the most skeptical about, because I have heard very polarizing things about his writing. Like, if you love his writing, you love it. If he's not for you, he's not for you. That was obvious, but I'm sure that meant something. I've met some people who love his writing, who really connect with it. And I've met some people who just, not for them. Now he has a book. What was it called? Oh, The Final Girl Support Group. I think is the one that he's most well known for. I think that one did get him quite a bit of notoriety, and this is his newest release. So this is How to Sell a Haunted House. I believe this is her parents pass away and they have to go and clear out their home. And they're going to put it up on the market, but I believe the home, I'm assuming, is haunted and doesn't want to be sold. So we'll see. This next book is a little bit of a departure for me. It wasn't in the children's section. In my Barnes & Noble, it was in the fantasy sci-fi section. But it sounds very much like it's written for younger children. So maybe I'm just judging it wrong. Well, I'm intrigued to see. But this is The Last Unicorn by Peter S. Beagle. And the sequel to The Last Unicorn is called The Way Home. Just released as well. It's 2 novellas from the world of The Last Unicorn. So I got both Barnes & Noble exclusive editions. And I don't know, is it just me? I would love to hear your opinions below. Is this a children's book? I mean, it's a novella. So this one's a novella, so it's short. But I did read the summary, and then I read like the first couple of sentences, which I'll do with you right now. And I don't know why it's giving me children's book vibes. So, I mean, I'm still going to read it because it sounds great. But it may be a children's book. It was in my sci-fi fantasy section, not the young adult section. So I don't know, but it says, the unicorn lived in a lilac wood and she lived all alone. So she ventured out from the safety of the enchanted forest on a quest for others of her kind. Joined along the way by the bumbling magician Schmendrick, and the indomitable Molly Grew, the unicorn learns all about the joys and sorrows of life and love before meeting her destiny in the castle of a despondent monarch and confronting the creature that would drive her kind to extinction. So the Barnes & Noble edition does have this page holder on the inside, and it does have the beveled uneven edges on it. So this is kind of what I was talking about. If we go to the first page, the unicorn lived in a lilac wood and she lived all alone. She was very old, though she did not know it, and she was no longer the careless color of sea foam, but rather the color of snow falling on a moonlit night. But her eyes were still clear and unwearied, and she still moved like a shadow on the sea. Maybe not. I don't know why this gave me like children's book vibes. Maybe it's not. But regardless, I picked this up. I heard it's great, and I picked up the new sequel novella to it as well, The Long Way Home. So, okay. So the next book is Pretend You're Mine by Lucy Score. This is one of Lucy Score's newest release. She's been pumping out books this year like crazy. I have Things We Never Got Over, Things We Hide from the Light, By a Thread, and Forever Never. And I feel as though I know that Things We Hide from the Light just released, I believe, last month. Forever Never, I believe, released last month. By a Thread, I don't think is that old. And now I'm finding this one. I don't know if this was just a reprint. I'm pretty sure it was. I think this is an older published book, I believe around 2015. And then she is redoing her covers for some of her books. I actually did get, oh, here it is too. I actually did also pick up Rock Bottom Girl by Lucy Score, and this is an older book that they just redid the cover, which I love because the original cover had a soccer ball on it and it just wasn't as cute. So I think these two probably are the same idea. So I believe that this is an older book with a renewed cover. Pretend You're Mine by Lucy Score. If this is pretend, why does it feel so real? Luke Garrison is a hometown hero, a member of the National Guard ready to deploy again. So I believe he's a member of the National Guard, and I think kind of to get his family off his back about how he's not dating because he feels like it's kind of pointless to date since he's going to deploy. Why get into a relationship? But I think his family are kind of like worried about him mentally, and they're saying like, go ahead and get out there and date. I think he starts fake dating. Yeah, fake dating, I think, is the trope in this one. So cute. I love Lucy Score's writing. I adore it. I feel like it's really digestible. They are thicker. They definitely are time investments, but they're really good. And I breeze right through them. So I picked up Pretend You're Mine. And then I also picked up Rock Bottom Girl, which I've wanted to read for a while, but I didn't love the original cover. So now that they redid the cover, I think it's really beautiful. And I got it. This is a soccer romance, I believe. She is a soccer coach. She goes back to her hometown, or she goes through a breakup and then goes back to her hometown, visits her high school, and I believe she falls in love with like the soccer coach at her old high school. So I'm excited to read that. All right. So the next series I picked up is Vicious and Vengeful by V.E. Schwab. I've heard nothing but great things about this series. V.E. Schwab actually wrote The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which is a beautifully written historical fiction. And I think this is similar. So Vicious and Vengeful, I'm not going to go ahead and read a summary because once again, I believe this gives some spoilers. But for Vicious, Victor and Eli started out as college roommates, brilliant, arrogant, lonely boys who recognized the same sharpness and ambition in each other. In their senior year, a shared research interest in adrenaline, near-death experiences, and seemingly supernatural events reveals an intriguing possibility that under the right conditions, someone could develop extraordinary abilities. But when their thesis moves from the academic to the experimental, things go horribly wrong. I love V. Schwab's writing. I feel like the writing's super intelligent, almost sometimes to the point where like you read it and you have to go back and read it again. Sometimes it's a little hard to take in, but I'm really excited to read this because The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue was beautifully written. Sip of coffee. Okay, so the next book I bought, actually, I pre-ordered number 1 and 2 in this series, but for some reason, number 1 shipped and number 2 shipped on the same day. Number 2 arrived. I'm still waiting on number 1. Editing Lindsay here from the future, and it came in. You stealing my cookie?
Who's stealing your cookie? I'm not here.
There's the first one. All right, back to our regularly scheduled programming. I received King of Pride by Anna Huang from the Kings of Sin series. This is book 2. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put book 1 right here, which is called King of Wrath. Anna Huang is actually the same author as the Twisted series, which is Twisted Love, Twisted Hate, Twisted Games, I don't even know I have it. Twisted Lies. There you go. I'm excited. I believe it's another mafia romance, I'm pretty sure, or like billionaire romance, things like that. I believe they're just like the Twisted series in that you don't have to read them all together, but they're kind of interconnected. I'm assuming the characters are going to know each other. So hopefully book 1 gets here soon. Okay. So the next series I picked up was Renegades and Arch Enemies. I believe, what's the series name on this? It's not Lunar Chronicles. It might be the Renegades series. Yeah, I think it's the Renegade series. So once again, I actually saw Renegades recommended in Sarah Crowley and Destiny Sidwell's video. This was another book that they recommended for each other. So number 1 is called Renegades. Number 2 is called Arch Enemies. I'm going to go ahead and put down Arch Enemies and give you a little bit of a summary about Renegades. Oh God. My pile. Okay. So Renegades, I believe, is a syndicate of prodigies, humans with extraordinary abilities. Yeah, I believe that every one of the main characters has a certain special power. And actually, if you flip into the inside of the book, one of the main pages, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this main page, it gives you a list of the characters and what their power is. So it's like sketch. Adrian Everhart, he can bring his drawings and artwork to life. So I believe there's a bunch of characters and they each have special powers. And I believe it is dystopian. They emerged from the ruins of a crumbled society and established peace and order where chaos reigned. As champions of justice, they remain a symbol of hope and courage to everyone, except the villains they once overthrew. So yeah, it's a dystopian novel where each of the characters have special abilities. So I grabbed books 1 and 2 in that series. I believe there's 3 in the series. All right, coming down to the end here. Okay, so this next book I got from the recommendation of Olivia from Olivia Reads a Latte here on YouTube. This is Ordinary Monsters. This was a new release as well. I believe it's an older book, but just re-released in like mainstream bookstores. She's a thick girl, let me tell ya. So this is about, let me see. It's another historical, England 1882. In Victorian London, 2 children with mysterious powers are hunted by a figure of darkness, a man made of smoke. 16-year-old Charlie Ovid, despite a brutal childhood in Mississippi, doesn't have a scar on him. His body heals itself whether he wants it to or not. Marlowe, a foundling from a railway freight car, shines with strange bluish light. He can melt or mend flesh. When a jaded female detective is recruited to escort them to safety, all three begin a journey into the nature of difference and belonging and the shadowy edges of the monstrous. So, excited for that. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so the next book I picked up was Daughter of the Siren Queen. This is the second book in this series. I'm realizing I really don't know what the names of series are. But this is the second book in this series, which is what's the name of the series? I don't even know if it has one, but the first book is, I believe, Daughter of the Pirate King? Yeah, Daughter of the Pirate King, and this is Daughter of the Siren Queen. I do have Daughter of the Pirate King somewhere in here. And it says, Alosa's mission is finally complete. Not only has she recovered all three pieces of the map to a legendary hidden treasure, but the pirates who originally took her captive are now prisoners on her ship. So I don't want to go too much into that because I don't know if there's any more spoilers from Daughter of the Pirate King. So, second book in that series. Coming down. All right. This next one I'm really excited about. This actually just released yesterday as well. So I have been intrigued by TJ Klune as an author. He wrote Under the Whispering Door, and he wrote The House, I believe it's called The House by the Cerulean Sea. Barnes & Noble actually has special editions of those books that are absolutely stunning. They have like the sprayed edges, really beautiful artwork. I haven't picked those up yet. I'm kind of intrigued by them, but I just haven't gotten there with them yet. However, I got a notification that he was coming out with a new book, and I don't know why, but for some reason when I read the synopsis of this on Barnes & Noble, it really just spoke to me, and it was enough that I really felt like I wanted to pick it up. So it's strange because I usually don't do that. I'm kind of OCD about reading things in order from authors, but I did pick up In the Lives of Puppets by TJ Klune. I don't know why, but when I read the synopsis for this book, it just seemed so unique. The cover was really beautiful. I hadn't heard anything that kind of came close to what it was about, and I'm so intrigued by it that I think I might read this before even picking up his previous two books. So let me just tell you a little bit about what it's about. It says, in a strange little home built into the branches of a grove of trees live three robots. Fatherly inventor android Giovanni Lawson, a pleasantly sadistic nurse machine, and a small vacuum desperate for love and attention. Victor Lawson, a human, lives there too. Their family hidden and safe. Then one day, Vic salvages and repairs an unfamiliar android labeled Hap, and he learns of a shared dark past between Hap and Geo, a past spent hunting humans. So I guess it's about a boy or a man that lives with robots, and one of them hunts humans at one point? I don't know, but this is the Barnes & Noble edition. It's beautiful. I don't know if you could see this. I loved the little embossed robot on the cover, if you can see that. I just think it's so pretty. It's so unique, and I don't know why, but this story really spoke to me, so I wanted to grab it. And I think maybe if I do end up liking TJ Klune's writing, I think I might actually pick up his first two books and read them. So, In the Lives of Puppets. Getting down to the wire here. Okay, really quickly, I picked up The Heir. This is, I believe, the fourth book in the selection series. Let me see. Where is my selection series? 1, 2, 3. Yes. So this is the fourth book in the selection series by Kira Cass. I'm not going to get too much into this. Basically, the selection, the best way that I've heard it described is The Bachelor, but I believe it's like old-timey, like in Old English ages. I believe there's a bunch of girls fighting to marry the prince and become royalty. So I've heard it's basically like The Bachelor, except back in Old England. So there you go. Okay. So this next one I'm actually really excited about. This is All Roads Lead Here by Mariana Zapata. This is actually my first Mariana Zapata purchase. I do have the Wall of Winnipeg in the new cover ordered, but it hasn't come in yet. I ordered it in the Barnes & Noble pre-order sale. But I have heard that Mariana Zapata is the slow burn queen. Her books are all quite lengthy. I believe this is about 559 pages. So she does write pretty hefty books. This is the only one I have in hard copy until I get a copy of the Wall of Winnipeg. But I do have Colty and I think a couple other ones on my Kindle because I tend to read quicker on my Kindle. So I got this one because it did go on sale and I really just wanted to own a copy. I think the cover is beautiful, but I do mostly read on the Kindle as far as her books because they are a slow burn. So it says, losing people you love is hard. Aurora de la Torre, moving back to a place that was once home isn't going to be easy. Starting your whole life over probably isn't supposed to be. But a small town in the mountains might be the perfect remedy for a broken heart. Checking out her landlord across the driveway just might cure it too. I have heard really wonderful things about Mariana Zapata's writing, so I'm very excited to read it. All right, next we have Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I am so this is probably one of the books that I'm most excited that I picked up because I've gotten into romance, I've gotten into young adult, I've gotten into fantasy, semi into thriller, but I've never gotten into sci-fi. I'm not a huge sci-fi girl, and this is, from what I understand, pretty much straight sci-fi. From what I'm understanding, this is about an astronaut who wakes up in outer space and has no recollection of how he got there or why he was asleep or for how long he was asleep. And I believe the ship has been keeping him alive. And I don't really know much else from there, but the Raven-Haired Reader here on YouTube said that this is one of her top books that she's read this year. So I liked it. I thought it was intriguing, and I'm looking to get more into some light sci-fi. Nothing too crazy, but light sci-fi. So it says, a lone astronaut, an impossible mission, an ally he never imagined. Ryland Grace is the sole survivor on a desperate last chance mission, and if he fails, humanity and Earth itself will perish. Except that right now, he doesn't know that. He can't even remember his own name, let alone the nature of his assignment or how to complete it. So that's part of it. I'm really excited to read this. This might be one of my next reads as well. Okay. So I should have talked about this when I talked about Vicious and Vengeful, because this is also by V.E. Schwab. Honestly, kind of forgot about this. This is A Darker Shade of Magic. This book has a cult following, and I'm so excited to get into it because I've heard such amazing things about it. I feel like V.E. Schwab kind of has a cult following in general, but particularly this book, for some reason, I'm hearing a lot about it on BookTube, on Bookstagram. So like I said, it's called A Darker Shade of Magic. I know next to nothing about it, but it says, welcome to Grey London, dirty and boring without any magic, with one mad king, George III. Then there's Red London, where life and magic are revered, and White London, a city slowly being drained through magical war, down to its very bones. And once upon a time, there was Black London, but no one speaks of that now. Okay, so I guess this is an alternate universe where there's multiple Londons. I'm wondering if this is like a social system, kind of like Red Queen. I know in that book, if you have a certain color blood, you're a certain class. If you have another color blood, you're more valuable. I'm wondering if maybe if you lived in Black London, you're more valuable than Red London or Grey London or something like that. So I don't know. It says, officially, Kel is the Red Traveler, one of the last magicians who can travel between the worlds, acting as ambassador and messenger between the Londons in service of the Maresh Empire. Unofficially, he's a smuggler, which is a dangerous hobby for him to have, as proved when Kel stumbles into a setup with a forbidden token from Black London. Fleeing into Grey London, Kel runs afoul of Delilah Bard, a cut-purse with lofty aspirations who first robs him, then saves him from a dangerous enemy, and then forces Kel to spirit her to another world for a proper adventure. But perilous magic is afoot and treachery lurks at every turn. To save all of the worlds, they'll first need to stay alive. This sounds really good. And like I said, V.E. Schwab is kind of a master of the writing and their craft. I think they have really fabulous writing, so I'm really excited to read this. Okay. Next, this is another book I know next to nothing about. This is House of Salt and Sorrows by Erin Craig. I'm going to be fully honest with you. I'd heard a little bit about this, but this was on a buy one, get one 50% off table, and it just intrigued me when I read the back, but also I was looking for a book because it was going to be my 50% off. So hopefully this is good. But it says, in a manor by the sea, 12 sisters are cursed. Anna Lee lives a sheltered life at Highmoor with her sisters. Once there were 12, but loneliness fills the grand halls now that 4 of the girls' lives have been cut short, each death more tragic than the last. Disturbed by a series of ghostly visions, Anna Lee becomes increasingly suspicious that her sisters' deaths were no accidents. The girls have been sneaking out every night to attend glittering balls, dancing until dawn in silk gowns and shimmering slippers. And Anna Lee isn't sure whether to try to stop them or to join their forbidden trysts, because who or what are they really dancing with? So, I guess her sisters are dying one by one, and she's going to try to figure it out. I don't know. Like I said, I picked it up kind of randomly. I liked the cover. I thought the back sounded kind of intriguing, and it was my 50% off book. So, at Barnes & Nobles. There you go. Okay, and lastly, I actually have to grab, here we go, a book from my shelf. Okay. And lastly, I picked up Fable and Saint by Adrienne Young. These two are in a series. I really just think that the covers are really beautiful on these books. I don't know if you can see them. The covers are really beautiful, and I was super intrigued by the storyline. I'm not going to go over Saint because I do believe this is a series, so I don't want to spoil anything, but Fable says traitor, fighter, survivor. Welcome to a world made dangerous by the sea and by those who wish to profit from it, where a young girl must find her place and her family while trying to survive. Must find her place and her family while trying to survive in a world built for men. For 17-year-old Fable, the daughter of the most powerful trader in the Narrows, the sea is the only home she has ever known. It's been 4 years since the night she watched her mother drown during an unforgiving storm. The next day, her father abandoned her on a legendary island filled with thieves and little food. Jeez. To survive, she must keep to herself, learn to trust no one, and rely on the unique skills her mother taught her. The only thing that keeps her going is the goal of getting off the island, finding her father, and demanding her rightful place beside him and his crew. Oh, so I'm wondering if he's a captain? I would assume. To do so, Fable enlists the help of a young trader named West to get her off the island and across the Narrows to her father. But her father's rivalries and the dangers of his trading enterprise have been multiplied since she last saw him, and Fable soon finds that West isn't who he seems. I believe that, and maybe the story is Saint, maybe the story of West? No, as a boy, Elias learned the hard way what happens when you don't heed the old tales. Okay, so I don't know if these two are connected or if they're separate, but regardless, I got Fable by Adrienne Young and Saint by Adrienne Young. All right, I think that pretty much does it for the books that I picked up in the last couple of weeks. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching. I really hope that it was interesting. Like I said, I've wanted to do this for a really long time, and if just one person watches it and is someone that ends up joining and talking about books, I would love to hear if you've read any of these and if you're going to pick them up or if you have picked them up. Like I did also say, there was a Barnes & Noble pre-order sale, so I have a couple of books coming. I'm probably going to end up doing my what I read in April in the next few days, so that should be the next thing that are coming, along with what I'm planning to read in May. So if you're interested and you'd like to follow along, please consider subscribing below, and I'll talk to you soon. And now we clean up the giant pile of books that I took out and organize them. So I created this mess and problem for myself. So here we go.